I've been buying more art supplies. Like always, I have been waiting a good 2.5 months for this to turn up, and it finally turned up in the middle of Inktober. So it's been sitting there waiting for me to finish Inktober. So here we go, here we go, here we go, here we go. Let's open this and see what's inside. So this is a Seamiart, I think that's how you say it, some Seamiart. This is 90 watercolors. So we have 50 basic colors, we have 36 shimmers, and we have 4 neons. What we can see in the box when we open it is obviously the colors mentioned, but also it comes with a watercolor brush, a paintbrush, a color chart, and a portable metal case. Let's open this and let's see what it looks like. I think the packaging's really cool. Like, you've got a little witch and you've got like a little creepy house, and yeah, I really like the packaging for this. Pretty darn cool. But I didn't know it was going to come in this box, so that was a surprise. Like, there was no there was no picture of the box, so that's a nice surprise. That's right up my alley. I swear to God, everything is Beck proof. Alright, so here we have the tin. There's been a little bit of dentage there, but that's it's not too bad. So she's just a plain tin. Little latch. Let's pop that bad boy up. And holy bejeebers. The 50 basic colors are on this side. Oh, that's cool. Look at that. I don't even have to write one out myself. That, I like that. That's cool. Then we've got a black bit of paper. We have our shimmer colors on this side, and then we've got our neon colors. So that's the reason why I bought this, because there was so many colors in here, but they're only little pans. But hey, watercolor pans, they last a long time. Like a little goes a long way. So the paintbrush is this rubbish thing, and I don't like using these at all. I hate them with a passion. So we're just gonna buy. As you can see, it's just shitty plastic that they're sitting in. The only time I use these is when I do the swatches, so I will use that when I swatch these colors onto here. See, I was just thinking this could be to put the shimmer colors on and test the shimmer colors on here. Let's see what they look like on black paper. Check this out. I have to show you this. We have a sap green. Oh, that sap green, look out for it. We have a brilliant green purple. I'd be thinking they'd be two colors that wouldn't go together, but then again, I don't know my color theory. So this little swatch sheet is only for the 50 colors here. So this here is definitely for that there, for these colors here. Well, let's get swatching, I suppose. This swatching took me quite a while. As you would know, swatching 90 colors, it was definitely not something that was done in a hot minute, but yeah, these colors were, they're nice, like every palette that I own. Like, there was no real wow factor with these. There was just, you know, they're just like the other palettes that I do have. They're not chalky, which is the main thing. And this palette actually set me back about $32 for all this watercolor. So I didn't think that was honestly too bad for what you get in this palette. Now, there's two things that I want to pick out with this palette, and they're only minor things, but one is there was no mixing area in the palette because it's all taken up by watercolor, I'll just use my own palette. I've got no problems with that or whatsoever, so that's no biggie really, but unless someone out there, you know, doesn't particularly like it for that reason. And number two, the plastic that the watercolor actually comes in. There's the pans are they're not little individual removable pans. It's just one big plastic mold. One thing I forgot to say before when I was showing this was the suppliers that I got this off did send me 2 brushes on their own, and they are very, very fine tipped brushes. I'll take them out. They are a Maurice detail brushes, I assume, because like they're really, really, really tiny ends. So we've got a 00 and a 0. So the illustration that I'm going to do today with these watercolors is I'm going to do a watercolor piece on one of my favorite movies. When I was a child, I used to watch Return to Oz a lot, and I have only just watched it a couple of years ago. I love that movie. It is creepy as hell, and it's my favorite Wizard of Oz movie ever because it's creepy. It's got Fairuza Balk in it, and it's just, it's horrific. I love it. It's great. I have a bit of a concept that I'm going to do just as a tribute to that movie. And yeah, I will sketch it out in a second once I work out what kind of paper I'm going to use next. I've decided to use this watercolor pad that I got from, where did I get it from? From AliExpress. It's got 20 sheets in it. It is a 300 GSM. It says it's cold press, acid free, it's white, and it's also rough and smooth toothed. So it's double-sided if you want to use the rough side. This is the rough side here. I don't know if you can see that texture. There's the texture there. And then on the other side, it's a little bit, can you see that? Little bit smoother. I'm hoping you can see that. Yeah, so it's a little bit smoother. I'm gonna give this a whirl today. I'm actually going to just use the rough side. I don't usually use a rough watercolor paper because I like my hot press, but yeah, we'll just give it a go and see. Now this paper pad only cost me like $17 with postage, so I thought, why not? I'm all about buying art supplies that are cheaper but still are effective. Now the concept I had for this illustration is I wanted to do like a lollipop heads on a lollipop sort of illustration with this, and I wanted a hand to be holding it. So naturally, like I always do when there's a hand involved in my illustrations, I trace around my own hands because I like to include it into the illustrations instead of just drawing any old hand. And I then put the lollipop sticks in between the fingers. I ended up moving them around because it didn't work. My idea didn't work the way that I wanted it to, so I ended up having to move one of the heads up to the top of the thumb. But all in all, it worked perfectly. Like this idea that I had, because this is just something that had been rolling around in my head when I thought of doing something for this movie, because I love this movie so much, and I've been wanting to do like an illustration for this movie for a while now. So that's just what I've done, and yeah, you'll see that I have all the heads of the main characters are all on lollipop sticks. So anyway, about the movie Return to Oz. Now Return to Oz was created in 1985. That was a year after I was born. It is 35 years old, this movie, but it is such a good movie. It's the darkest of all the Wizard of Oz stories. It's freaky. So the main gist of this movie is Dorothy goes back to Kansas, and how she ends up going back is after she comes back safe from the first time, because this is basically a sequel, she keeps talking about Oz, and her Auntie M thinks that she's fantasizing and she's being delusional. So she takes her to this doctor that shocks her in the brain. So it's like electroshocking of the brain to stop her from having these thoughts and delusions. But just before it happens, the power goes out because lightning strikes the building, and everything just goes pitch black. So she ends up being rescued by this mysterious girl. Now, the mysterious girl ends up being Ozma, who is the rightful ruler of Oz. But she's basically come to rescue Dorothy to bring her back to Oz so she can save Oz from the vain witch who is called Mombi, and also the Gnome King. Both between the two of them, they are destroying Oz. So yeah, Dorothy basically has to save Oz before it's completely destroyed. And that's all I'm going to say about the movie. I could tell you so much about it. It is just, it's the creepiest, coolest movie. And Princess Mombi, what I like about her is she can take her heads off and put another head on. So she's got this whole hallway up both sides are just full of heads. And she's taken all these heads from all the people in the township or whatever it's called. So all these stone statues of people outside have got no heads because she's taken them all and she's put them into her own collection. So honestly, if you like creepy children's 80s movies, seriously, this is right up your alley. If you haven't watched it, I have watched it a million times. I absolutely love the movie. It's just something that I grew up with, and I had watched it so many times. I've got it on DVD, I've got it downloaded, I've got it everywhere because I like to watch it every now and again just to be, slightly creeped out. Like it goes in the same category as The Labyrinth and Dark Crystal. It's just such a good movie, and I will forever love it, and it'll be forever my favorite movie. So the characters that I have done, and they're the main characters. So you'll see Jack Pumpkinhead, who is in pieces up in Mombi's attic, and Dorothy finds herself up there with, she takes Bellina. Bellina's her chicken. And Bellina's coming out of the top of Jack's head because in the end of the movie, Bellina ends up getting into Jack's head, and this is how they kill the Gnome King. I'm not going to go too much into it. I just want you to watch it. But yeah, so basically Dorothy puts Jack back together, and he's huge. He is so tall. You'll see the gump is like a deer head. They have to sprinkle some powder over him to bring him to life so they can fly away once they build this like flying chair thing. It's weird with these leaves as wings. And then you've got Dorothy, which I've got her head, as you know, and then TikTok. TikTok is the robot that Dorothy finds in like this little room in the kingdom, and she basically winds him up and he comes to life. But the thing with TikTok is he's got to be wound up or he just runs out of life. So yeah, that's the characters. It's just such a good movie, and I totally just recommend everyone to watch it if you like that sort of stuff anyway. Now, this piece took me about 6 hours to do. It was I did this over 2 days, so I did 3 hours per day over 2 days on this. So it took me a bit, but I think it's well worth the effort that I put into it. Not that that's much of an effort, but I think 6 hours is probably pretty good, for a piece. But yeah, I really enjoyed working on this, and I was quite happy with the paper, the tooth. I'm really surprised that the tooth of this paper really didn't bother me, because in the past I haven't been able to work with a really rough sort of tooth, but I actually don't mind it, but the hot press is still my favorite. Now, probably my biggest struggle with this piece is the fact that I couldn't get the antler on the gump on his right side. I sort of struggled with the perception and the perspective, I should say, of that. I rubbed that out quite a few times, if you noticed in the sketch process, because I tried a few angles and nothing sort of really seemed fine. And then I tried to sort of get it right and make it look okay, and then I sort of settled on that angle. So I'm hoping that that still looks okay. I'm hoping it doesn't look stupid, but yeah, that's something that I have to work on, is the perspective and the angling and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, just just ignore that. I really enjoyed this piece. Like, I've just been, after Inktober, I've been really enjoying the pieces that I'm doing after that, and I don't know if it was just because it was just a whole month of just black and white images with a little tiny bit of color, or maybe subconsciously I learned something, but I'm just finding that I'm able to really enjoy the watercolor that I'm doing at the moment, and I'm quite happy with what I'm achieving. And yeah, I don't know what was happening before. I think I was getting to a point where I kind of probably needed a bit of a break, and I know I'm probably going to get to that stage again with my art. I'm going to be quite unhappy, and then the key is to basically put it down and have a break and then revisit it. And I seem to be a bit more refreshed and a bit more recharged, and just sort of feel a little bit more comfortable doing my pieces. So the part that I used the metallics, the shimmery watercolor in this was on TikTok. I used a bronzy sort of gold color out of that shimmer palette part, and it's not very noticeable that it's shiny unless you like tip this picture up to the light outside into the sun. You can see a bit of the shimmer. It's not it's a very subtle kind of shimmer with it. So yeah, they're not the most eye-popping shimmer colors out there. I do believe that the Keratake Starry Night palette that I have is way better with the sort of those sort of metallic-y sort of shimmery colors and the golds and that. But like I said, this is 90 watercolors for $32, so you can't complain with that. So and I ended up adding some of these leafy vines, and I sort of took that idea from when they put the gump together with the leaves to give him those wings. Yeah, that's just where I took the inspiration from. But anyway, that is my final piece. I added the blood, and TikTok's got oil coming out of his neck because he's a robot, and Jack Pumpkinhead's got pumpkin goo coming out because he's a pumpkin. So anyway, I'm out of here, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.